So the San Francisco 49ers have not made the Super Bowl. They have lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in what was an unfortunate game, as obviously the Brock Purdy injury happened. A lot of things happened in this game that meant that they were not able to win in a year where they had a real shot at winning the Super Bowl. Always sucks to lose when you are in a window like this, but how long is the window going to be open? Well, let's talk about it. They're a very fascinating team heading into next year, and I think still a team that I am expecting to be competitive, although there is some massive things to talk about heading into next year. I actually think the biggest of which is not a free agent or a free agent they could get or anything like that. It is the draft situation, as they went out and traded for Christian McCaffrey. And while it felt like kind of a bit of an all-in move, they still have McCaffrey for next year. So it's not like you're in a situation where, it was a complete one-year rental or anything like that. But they still are in a very fascinating situation. Because of that trade, they actually don't have a single draft pick until round 5 next year, which is kind of crazy to think about. They do have 2 round 5 draft picks, but I mean, they're not getting any help through the draft massively. You'll get a couple of maybe depth guys there, but the reality is you're going to have to maintain this team, which is a very good team, or if you're trying to improve through free agency, which they might not have too much money to do. Now, they're okay money-wise. They have $16 million projected for the cap next year. You feel okay about that, but you got some free agents you have to sign as well. Jimmy Ward, Jimmy Garoppolo, Samson Ebukam is a free agent, Emmanuel Mosley, Mike McGlinchey, and those are just the highlights. There's other players that they're going to have to make sure that they, either re-sign or replace with someone as well. There's other guys on the, Jawan Jennings, you might not want to keep him, but if you don't, you have to replace him. You have to find someone who you'll get instead. And I don't know if they have the money to re-sign all of those guys, but I think they can get close. I think Garoppolo is probably the one guy that you would think you let walk, and that transitions into the last kind of main point about the 49ers, right? Is the idea of what do you do at the quarterback position? You have Brock Purdy, who came out of nowhere to actually play very well. No one was expecting this. He was the last overall pick. What a story it was. Sucked how it ended. It really did, because it was a great story, but it did end. It ended, and so, you are now in a situation where you have a decision to make. To me, I said this in my video about them when I made my film study, but I want to, say it here, obviously. I think my strategy would be I let Garoppolo walk, and I go into the season with Purdy and Lance, and I basically say it's an open competition. Whoever performs better in training camp, in practice, and then into preseason games, that's the guy we're going to let be our starting quarterback. And again, with the injury luck that they have, which is very bad injury luck, having 2 capable quarterbacks is not a bad way to go. And part of me even wonders if they might make a push for someone like Garoppolo just because, hey, we know he can run the system well. We want to get another quarterback who can throw the football, because they've had too many seasons get derailed due to quarterback injuries. It's really remarkable. I don't know. Does Matt Ryan still want to play? Maybe they sign Matt Ryan to a minimum deal. I think that they probably at least get a third-string quarterback who they feel like can play. They did that last year, and it really worked out for them with getting Brock Purdy, which really worked out until, of course, it didn't. So I imagine they'll do that. Maybe they need a 4th-string quarterback at this point and a 5th-string quarterback. I don't know. It's just so unfortunate, the injury luck they had. But you just have to assume that, I don't know. Maybe there's a reason why the 49ers seemingly have some injury luck, but you have to assume, at least at the quarterback position, you go into the season with Brock Purdy and Trey Lance, the chances are one of them will stay healthy the entire year. That's just statistics. That's just odds, is that the odds are that will happen. And if it doesn't happen, you kind of say, well, this is just an unlucky break. That happens as well. To me, that's the logic. That's what I would go with. But can they maintain the roster around them? I think so. I mean, I don't see any massive players that are going to go in free agency. Like Mike McGlinchey, listen, he's going to get, I know some Niners fans have gotten on him a little bit. He's going to get $10 million in free agency, I think, at least a year is what I'm saying. He's a solid right tackle. I think he's a good right tackle, and he's able to play consistently. He's going to get some money in free agency. And even Robbie Gould, the kicker, who it's like, he's going to get some money if you let him walk. So I know he's 40 at this point, but still, he's a good player. He'll get paid at least a little. So again, there's decisions to be made, but I think that they can get these guys. I do think they could re-sign if they want to. I think they could re-sign Jimmy Ward. I think they could re-sign Emmanuel Mosley, and I think they could re-sign Mike McGlinchey. I think that they could be able to do that with the money they have. And again, just because $16 million in cap space does not mean $16 million to spend. The average team spends about $10 million over the salary cap. I see no reason why the Niners in this spot wouldn't spend over the salary cap when you do have a Super Bowl window. And I kind of feel like the risk reward here of going with Purdy versus Lance, part of one thing I think about as well is Purdy. If he's your starter, you get 3 years of Purdy on a rookie deal. I mean, Lance, you would only get 2 more years, so it's not a massive difference. Once you get the 5th-year option, you don't get as much. They get money at that point. Obviously, Purdy does not have a 5th-year option, but there's decisions to be made either way about that. I still think let either one of them go, but the reality is, for the next 2 years, you can be having this team with a rookie deal. Like, that's a huge advantage as you're not paying teams big money, quarterback big money. You look at teams like the Dallas Cowboys who are paying Prescott a lot of money, right? They're giving him a chunk of change because of the fact that they're giving him so much money. It makes it harder for them to have as good of a team as the Niners do. Now, you have to have a quarterback who can play up to a level, but they've shown that they do. Purdy has played that well. Just the question is, I think the concern is, if you let Garoppolo walk, it is still a small sample size with Purdy. That's fair to say. It's a small sample size with Purdy, although he did very well in that small sample size. Trey Lance hasn't looked bad. He hasn't looked spectacular either. He's had way too small of a sample size to really get, figure out where he's at. The concern is, what if you let Garoppolo walk and both Purdy and Lance aren't able to get it done? The reality is the quarterback position is so important that even with, a great offensive guru like Kyle Shanahan, he can only do so much, right? He can only make so much happen. You still need a quarterback to come in and play decent. So at the end of the day, while it's a bitter end to what was an awesome season for the 49ers, this is still a great season for the 49ers. And it feels way different this year than it did last year, in my opinion. Last year, yes, they got to the NFC Championship game and came very close to winning that game, had a 10-point lead. If, wasn't that dropped interception late in the game, maybe they win, maybe they don't, but there was a chance. But it still always felt like that year the Niners were kind of playing above their play level a little bit. They're punching a bit above their weight class. Not massively, but, they were underdogs in round one, found a way to beat the Dallas Cowboys, found a way to beat the Packers, and they earned those wins, but they were underdogs. They weren't expected to win those games. This year was kind of like, oh, no, they're here because they deserve to be here. And maybe they were here last year, but this year, maybe they deserved to be there last year and were just as good last year, but this year confirmed that they are actually that good. We know they are a true contender, and for the next couple of years, they should still be a true contender. Unfortunate for them, though, they weren't able to make some noise in this one due to the injury luck. But yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Where do you think the 49ers go from here? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.